Welcome to Seeking Alpha's Wall Street Brunch, our Sunday look ahead to this week's market-moving events, along with the weekend's top news and analysis. Hello, today is Sunday, October 27th, and I'm your host, Kim Kahn. 5 of the biggest tech companies report earnings in a week that will also see big numbers on jobs and economic growth. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet, and Meta Platforms are all scheduled to issue numbers. Apple is expected to earn $1.55 per share on $94.26 billion in revenue. TD Cowen analyst Krish Sankar says sentiment in Apple is markedly negative going into the quarterly results amid concerns about year-over-year comparisons, China, and regulatory risks to its services business. And while some of those concerns remain, any upbeat commentary from Apple's management team would be considered a positive. Overall, we expect Apple to report in-line September quarter results and guide in line to below consensus for the December quarter, Sankar said. He has a buy rating on the stock with a $250 price target. Amazon reports on Halloween, with analysts looking for revenue of $157.34 billion and EPS of $1.34. Its gross margin is expected to come in at 50.1%. Growth at Amazon Web Services, its margins, capital expenditures, and retail margins in the U.S. will be key. Bank of America Securities earlier this week said it expects a mixed Q3 with retail in line and an AWS beat. And Microsoft will give investors a lot to digest during its earnings call, which will likely highlight Azure cloud growth, advances in generative artificial intelligence, and new investor metrics. The forecast is for EPS of $3.10 on revenue of $64.56 billion. Bernstein Societe Generale analyst Mark Merdler says this quarter the focus could be more on understanding the numbers than the numbers themselves. Management has resegmented the businesses, moving products and services around, which is going to make it more difficult for investors to easily understand the results. Fundamentally, nothing has changed other than the reporting. Cloud, and especially Azure, is a big driver of growth, and if Gen AI is successful anywhere, Microsoft is the most likely candidate. Also on the earnings calendar, Ford Motor and Waste Management report on Monday. Joining Alphabet on Tuesday are Advanced Micro Devices, McDonald's, Pfizer, and Mondelez. Eli Lilly, Caterpillar, Amgen, and Starbucks weigh in on Wednesday, along with Meta and Microsoft. On Thursday, Apple and Amazon share the stage with MasterCard, Merck, Uber Technologies, and Comcast. ExxonMobil, Chevron, and Charter Communications report results on Friday. The economic calendar is also busy, with the first look at Q3 GDP and the last jobs report before the election. Economists expect the advanced measure of Q3 GDP to come in at an annual rate of 3%, the same as Q2. Wells Fargo economists are a little more bullish, calling for growth of 3.2%. Consumers are poised to drive growth again in the quarter, and we forecast 3.6% annualized growth in PCE, they said. The outlook for GDP is sturdy, as the consumer continues to support the fundamentals of economic growth and lower interest rates unshackle investment. Our forecast calls for a gradual moderation in growth as labor market cooling fosters less robust income growth in the next few quarters, but consumer strength remains an upside risk to growth down the road. For October jobs, expectations are for a much weaker print than September, with non-farm payrolls rising by 111,000. Weekly initial jobless claims have shown resilience, but Pantheon Macro isn't encouraged, noting that continuing claims rose to a 3-year high and were about 70,000 higher than during the September payroll survey week, the biggest increase since April 2022. There are no Fed speakers as the FOMC enters its blackout period ahead of the rate meeting right after Election Day. The markets are pricing in a near certainty of a quarter-point cut and a 75% chance of the same reduction in December. In the news this weekend, Delta Airlines has sued CrowdStrike in Georgia State Court over an outage in July that brought down the carrier's computer systems and forced the cancellation of some 7,000 flights. In the lawsuit filed in Fulton County Superior Court, Delta accused the security software vendor of negligence and breach of contract. The airline said the security software vendor is liable for more than $500 million in out-of-pocket costs in addition to an unspecified amount for lost profits, costs that include legal fees, and reputational harm and future revenue loss. While we aim to reach a business resolution that puts customers first, Delta has chosen a different path, a CrowdStrike spokesperson told Seeking Alpha. Delta's claims are based on disproven information, demonstrate a lack of understanding of how modern cybersecurity works, and reflects a desperate attempt to shift blame for its slow recovery away from its failure to modernize its antiquated IT infrastructure. And Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing will soon see its most severe challenges to its growth now that the U.S. is limiting the flows of advanced chips to China. According to Bloomberg, founder Morris Chang said in an event, TSMC is now truly a turf all major powers want to secure. Free trade of semiconductors, particularly the most advanced semiconductors, has died. In such an environment, our challenge lies in how to continue to drive growth. For income investors, Blackstone goes ex-dividend on Monday with a payout date of November 4th. Alcoa goes ex-dividend on Tuesday, paying out on November 15th. Morgan Stanley goes ex-dividend on Thursday. It pays out on November 15th. Costco goes ex-dividend on Friday, also paying out on November 15th. Companies forecast to raise their quarterly payouts include Visa to 60 cents from 52, D.R. Horton to 32.5 from 30, Rockwell Automation to 132 from 125, Marathon Petroleum to 55 from 52, and ExxonMobil to 97 cents from 95. And in the Wall Street Research Corner, BofA Securities drew up a list of stocks with the highest weight in ESG funds relative to the S&P 500. Over the past 2 years, socially responsible investing and environmental, social, and governance strategies were dominated by new mandates, such as the U.S. Inflation Reduction Act, the EU Green Deal, and the Japanese Green Transformation Plan. Now, BofA analysts argue that there is a greater focus on climate transition. Among the most overweight ESG names are Pentair, First Solar, Charter Communications, Paramount Global, Cisco, D.R. Horton, and Ecolab. Check out the full list in our story. That link will be in show notes. That's all for today's Wall Street Brunch. Look for links to stories in the show notes section. Don't forget, these episodes will be up with transcriptions at seekingalpha.com/WSB. And join the elite community of real investors to unearth great investing ideas. Just head to seekingalpha.com/subscriptions.